Oh, it's too dark. You can't see me. Sorry about that. Normally I have these open. Hold on. Oh, how's that? Better? But about to leave for lunch anyways. This will be quick. It's not like it's going to be very interesting too much. Okay. Let's talk about girl power views. Now, women empowerment. Um, I'm all for it. I have nothing against it. If you can find strength within yourself to be more than what you were yesterday, fine. But I did notice something very peculiar growing up in the evolution of girl power from the 80s and 90s. It was that whenever the strong independent girls, you know, would make a contrast to this is me now, I'm not this weaker thing, they always seem to come back to Cinderella and the just mostly Cinderella. Uh, like in the episode Darius, when I first really noticed it, is because Daria was a '90s kid. It was a show on MTV, and what it I get that yeah was that it Daria and her friend Jane were modern teens and stuff. It was a good show. I liked it. Even like the singing episode. Um, they were Daria was babysitting, and she was telling these kids this story about Cinderella and how like if she had written it, she would say that she skips the ball and goes off and becomes this a strong, independent woman. And I kept thinking to myself, it's like, strange, Cinderella again. And I kind of noticed that, more and more. It's like because people keep referring to that. Oh, your happily ever was just handed to you. And I watched this movie growing up as a kid. We had it, we had the classic Disney collection, and I didn't find anything wrong. I was actually more annoyed at the fact that she stayed around rather than leave. Like where would she go? What would she do? So she had a strong sense of character and a strong sense of conviction. This is the situation she's in. She's going to stay with it until a new possibility, a new avenue presented itself. So, and plus it was her home for crying out loud. It was her place initially, and I never perceived her as weak or her life as easy, or even when the fairy godmother showed up. All she ever gave her, even back then, that I didn't realize at the time of the concept of, name and concept, was that the fairy godmother just gave her tools to do the job, which is to impress the prince to have an introduction. You know, what was that old saying? Those old sayings, about like you can uh, you know give a man a fish, you can feed him for a day, but teach a man to fish, you can feed him for the rest of his life, or something like that. I don't know, but the point is that they gave Cinderella the tools, but she already had the strength of character to go up there. Now I've approached people before, you know, in my life, and you got to have a lot of confidence in yourself and the belief and focus to actually do that. And let alone, this is royalty. This is the prince. So the fact that they hit it off immediately, granted, that's more of the Disney-esque thing. But Cinderella really had a lot of strength of character to go through all this in a lot of stride, her little story. And, you know, granted, in Disney's first film, Snow White, a lot of that was handed to Snow White. the huntsman sparing her life, her finding the dwarves, her having the little animal friends to look after her. A lot of that was just given to her. So yeah, that one was incredibly, but it's still a darn good movie. Because it was a theatrical film. It was the first animated feature ever. So yeah, it was still in its infancy. People needed simple, simplistic forms. It was hard enough just to make, and try to give it more of an adult theme more than it already had. You kind of have to understand, for the time and place of what it was and production quality. It kind of had, some things had to be simplistic. Some things had to be toned down, shortened down. So for simplicity, what do you think? Children's cartoons are simple just because it's for children? No, because it's hard work making a 12 episode series. You know, simplifying it just makes it easier for your job. Um, you know, so everybody kind of just saying it's Snow White's, her happily ever after was given to her. It's like no, 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 no. And so Disney decided, like, okay, so girl power tends to frown upon the early Disney princesses, particularly Snow White. So they decided to. This is why I have observations. I haven't done any actual research. This is my observation. So I've done no homework with this. This is just simply my observation. Disney decided to put out 3 short stories in 2 movies, weirdly enough, where the magic is not only taken away from Cinderella, but the magic was actually deliberately to work against her in another story. So so they're literally putting Cinderella in a position where she now has to fight for her dream. So we see her a bit more of an action-ish storyline where she has to actively try to prevent, someone else taking her dream, and making her happily ever after happen at all in one case. So, and then the second story is kind of weird. It's where I forget the mouse in the red suit, he becomes human for a brief moment. Anyway, so yeah, so they had to show that this character is capable of doing it, which means they had to expand horrendously her gigantic amount on character on the prince, by the way, who only has 2 speaking lines and 1 song. So yeah, you can imagine that is very, very creative to make him feel like he's the same character from both films, which they do pretty well. Though it is kind of weird actually hearing him have character. He's doing all this dialogue. He has these whole scenes of actual dialogue. That's kind of odd hearing him actually talk, and express himself a bit more. And it's interesting, having to prove that Cinderella is more than just, this Mary Sue or whatever the hell they call it, So it's nice to finally have that, backed up, that that Cinderella is a strong, independent character, which I always thought she was. But it's nice now that no one can really hark on it about that. So, yeah. What else was there? Yeah, as opposed to all the other Disney princesses afterwards, whenever there was a Disney princess, I always liked them, particularly in the early '90s for Mark Hand. Thank you, by the way. Uh, yeah, they were the strong, independent girl who went after what she wanted. It was fine until Princess and the Frog, which states, "I don't need no man in my life to be happy." So we see the careeraholic Disney princess, who in the end says, "I needed a man after all." Um, I guess I was kind of iffy on that. It's like, really? That whole movie was felt incredibly contrived, honestly. So that really doesn't really work. It's like, I know what they're trying to aim for, but then how they got there was kind of annoying, along with all the other stupid jokes. Because, everything needs stupid jokes. But yeah, uh, I do like Moana. Much like Home, is that you know uh, they needed a separation of the male and female lead characters, love interests, and then it's like, well, can they still work together in a platonic relationship? Actually, yeah, in Home, even though granted they're supposed to be genderless, they do come off as more male. Um, that was a good buddy road trip movie, and then in Moana, they actually have Moana and Maui, and their friendship works fine. They have them, working back and forth, socially, and that's it. It's convincing. Nothing feels forced or contrived, other than that end of the second act, breakup, where it's like, we got to be at our lowest thing, and it's like, no, please stop. It's a cliche at this point. Please don't do that. So that's incredibly well done. Because in the when I was younger, it's like, well, it's a guy and a gal. Of course, they gotta be together. But I've seen that it can actually work well. You can have the only real two lead characters, and have them just be friends and have it work, in the story very well. I'm probably sure she has some admirer or admirers back at the village, because everyone seems to love her back at the village. So I'm pretty sure some guy would like to be her husband or something. So, um, yeah. So I like the evolution of the Disney princesses from what it was, where it's everything was just given, and then she has tenacity with Cinderella, and then with strong independence like Ariel, Jasmine, and Belle. Well, Belle's more intellectual. Well, it showed her intellectualness. Well, she was. Well, it was implied she had intellectualness because she was constantly reading a book and loves books like Twilight. I love. Uh, uh, in Upheaval fanfic, there was a king. I forget what his name was, but it was King of the Earth or something. It was a Alicorn prince or king, and Twilight was there, and he was like, to say, I about this different rebellion. He says, "Ooh, tell me." He goes, "Hey, everyone, Twilight wants to know something." It was a good comical joke. I like it. It was part of the Upheaval series. I recommend it. It's very dark, but it's highly entertaining. Um, and very, very, very long. This is a thing that'll take like a week to listen through. But anyway, yes. So the to have the strong, independent girl, than to have the the smart smart girl arcs, and then to have the platonic girl in our current time with Moana. She's smart, she's capable, she learns pretty well, you know, and it's a nice stage of development, even with that whole part with Princess the Frog is still a development, an evolution that wasn't exactly handled entirely well, but whatever have you. Because I mean, a girl that says I don't need a relationship in my life, just it feels like you're cutting yourself out. Like you're just cutting that out of your entire life. As opposed to Moana, you know, you're saving the day. Oh, and you're gonna fall in love in the same thing. Like no, no, no. We're focusing on saving the day, and it feels a lot more proper. You know, it feels natural. Nothing feels forced. You know, other than that sparkle, sparkle, sparkles song. Um, but yeah, it flows a lot more natural. Moana's storyline should be more of how what Princess, dang, I forget her name, but from Princess and the Frog, how she wants to be the career girl. Moana really, you know, um, not services or pays it off well, but succeeds at that well. She is, a working class workaholic. She's dedicating herself to this job, to this position, and she's doing a bang up job of it. Granted, she's in over her head of. At first, I thought like the Heartless are about to show up on the island. How it looked, art wise, it looks like the Heartless. But anyway, yeah. So Moana succeeds where Princess and the Frog fails. Because it's like you just watch them. You'll see. It's hard to describe exactly in every little nuance, but yeah, Moana is superior to Princess and the Frog, and that's where we're currently at. Where it's gonna go from here, I don't know. Maybe they'll actually make a mother out of these one of these princesses one of these days, because that's one of the things we've never had is to actually have them be a mother. Oh, except for that one sequel with Ariel. Ish, but that was like really a one shot. So yeah, hopefully in the future we'll have the motherly, queen. Maybe she'll be a single parent. I don't know. Uh, so until next time, fair fateful viewer. Only 1 week left till Ready Player One, and I'll be certainly doing a review on that. More of what was different than what was our first, or whatever, whichever list is shorter. So until then, take care and stay frosty. Bye. I'm gonna turn this thing off. Um, yeah, just dive right in, Greg. Turn this thing off. Um, share microphone. Okay, try this. Yes.